There has been a lot said about other matters. Here is Indonesia. It is a clear issue before this house. We have done precious little by way of actual active help. We are not in a position to do so, but we have sympathy for the Indonesians and we have expressed it as publicly as possible because we give our sympathy and some degree of help to Indonesia and because this offends and irritates some of the major powers of the world. Are we to withdraw that help? Are we to submit tamely and say, no, this might irritate this power or that, for it does irritate this or that power, and there is no doubt about it. Naturally, we cannot, as a government, go as far as we might have done as a non official organization in which we can express our opinions as frankly and as aggressively as possible. Speaking as a government, we have to moderate our language. We have sometimes to stop doing things which we might otherwise do. Nevertheless, the fundamental thing is whether we sympathize and openly sympathize with a country like Indonesia in her struggle for freedom or not. That applies not to Indonesia only, but to several other countries. In each case, we have to face the passive hostility of various interests, not only the direct interests involved, but also the indirect interests involved, because the direct and the indirect interests hang together in such matters. It is an astonishing thing to see how, for many months, the Good Offices Committee has functioned in Indonesia. They are all good people, and it happens that the secretary of the committee is an Indian. The way it has functioned and the results it has produced are not at all satisfactory. If this House is dissatisfied with what the Security Council has done this year or considered in regard to Kashmir, they would be still more dissatisfied, I think, if they considered the Indonesian Good Offices Committee's work. Unfortunately, their approach to such problems is an approach with which this House cannot agree on account of our past traditions, on account of our ideals. I am not talking in terms of this block or that block. I am talking independently of the blocks as they have appeared on the world stage. We have either to pursue our policy generally within limitations or give it up. The problem before us was that if that veto was removed by a vote or decision of the United Nations, there was little doubt that the United Nations would cease to be that very instant. That was the choice. It was not a question of liking the veto on behalf of India, as on behalf of many countries, it was stated openly that we disliked the veto and that it should go. It was pointed out, however, that this could only come about by some kind of general agreement. We agree with what my friend said that the United Nations, in spite of its failings and weaknesses, is something that is good. It should be encouraged and supported in every way and should be allowed to develop into some kind of world government or world order. Therefore, we instructed our delegates not to press the question of the veto to the breaking point and to say that although we did not like it, it should remain there so long as it could not be removed by some kind of agreement among the major groups involved. In that way, various questions come up, and each question has to be considered on its merits. I do not know if any honorable member has analyzed our voting at these international conferences. It would help them perhaps to appreciate the scene better if they took up any one of the major issues during the last year at the United Nations or its various committees and councils and found out what India had done. It is certainly true that our instructions to our delegates have always been to consider each question first in terms of India's interest and secondly on its merits and not merely to do something or give a vote just to please this power or that power, though, of course, it is perfectly natural that in our desire to have friendship with other powers, we avoid doing anything which might irritate them. As a matter of fact, we go as far as possible to try and win them over. It is not our purpose to enter into other people's quarrels. Our general policy has been to avoid entering into anybody's quarrels. If I may say so, I have come more and more to the conclusion that the less we interfere in international conflicts, the better, unless, of course, our own interest is involved for the simple reason that it is not in consonance with our dignity just to interfere without producing any effect. We should either be strong enough to produce some effect or we should not interfere at all in this matter.